Are you struggling to get a perfectly square cut with your hand plane? As you can see there, it's certainly not square. Now it can be quite easy to plane at an angle without realising it, so I'm going to show you a quick method on how to make it perfectly square every time. You want to get a piece of ply and use that as a fence for the side of your hand plane, just here. And that will basically, if it's all clamped together, it will make sure that your hand plane will cut perfectly 90 degrees on every single pass. So this is the final pass, get it all nice and clean, and then as you can see here, oh, perfect. If you're struggling to create nice consistent shavings using a planer in this direction, try pulling it. So you turn it around, and you put nice downwards pressure on the knob and you pull with your hand, and then you can actually pull your body weight against it, and you can go really nice and slow and controlled like this. This is a real-time video, so you can see how smooth and how consistent the shavings are that come from it. You might find you actually have a lot better stability pulling it in this direction. It is just another method of doing it. I mean, a lot of people can just create those beautiful shavings going forwards, like a normal hand plane should be used. But this is just something slightly different, and you may be pleased with the results. So try it.
Okay, in this video I'm going to show you how to create a bullnose on the edge of a board, or just a single radius. So what you want to start with is a hand plane, and then you get it in your vise, and then what you want to start with is creating a 45-degree chamfer. About 6 or 7 passes on both corners. And that's 7 there. So then what we're going to do is start with the planer flat against the board here, pitch it up ever so slightly, and then we're going to start at that angle, and every single time we pass over we're going to just gradually change the angle until we get flat on the top, like so, and then start carrying on, and then keep shifting the angle down, and then eventually you'll end up with something that resembles a round over like this. Then I take a piece of sandpaper, hold it over and keep your thumbs nice and tight, just go backwards and forwards,
And you'll have yourself a nice round over. There you go.
Struggling to plane a long piece of wood like this without stopping in between or sort of stepping across like this. Typically, if you just use your arms, you've got that much range, okay? Now, I personally like to use my legs as well. 1, because it gives us more power, and 2, because it extends our range. And if you wanted to plane and step along whilst doing this, plane, step, plane, step, plane, step, plane, step, like this. Yes, you can produce really nice consistent shavings, but it takes a bit of extra time. But one thing that I like to do is just do it in one fell swoop, so one motion to do the whole thing. So what I'll do is stand about 2 shoulder widths apart, bring myself all the way back onto my back leg, okay, so my leg's bent, and what I'm going to do is extend my range, so I'm moving my body forwards like this. I can get myself set on here, level it off, get it ready to go. You see, that's just one fluid motion. Now, and that's also produced a beautifully consistent, nice shaving like this. So that's just in one swoop, okay? So rather than start, stop, you can just do it in one motion, simply by moving your legs like this. It's very, very easy. Are you struggling to get a nice square cut with a hand plane? And sometimes it ends up like this, which, as you can see, there's a nice gap here, and it's not ideal. So I'm going to show you an interesting method to be able to do this and make sure that you plane square and consistent every time. So you want to start off with 1 piece of ply that's nice and flat and smooth, or MDF, and then 2 small strips, or 1 big wider strip, but 2 is my preference. So what we want to do is get some mitre fast glue on. Okay, once we've done that, then we set it aside and spray some activator on. Okay, and then we just simply place it on top like so. So now once we've got this done, this just creates a nice big flat surface area. So as you can see over here, it will run down the side of the wood nicely. So we take our plane and rest it on top of one of these pieces, and then set a clamp on the side of the plane like this, and just tighten it up. And just tighten it up nice and firm, not too tight because you don't want to damage the plane. And then you're left with a kind of jig that looks like this. So the reason that these parts of plywood are here is just down the edge of the sole of the plane. We'll miss the blade on here. So holding this part flat against the wood, we just simply run it across. Oh, it's so easy. And then let's have a look. Oh, it's perfect. And it's so easy as well. It doesn't matter how long the piece of wood you have is. This is really mobile. It's really easy to manoeuvre. You can keep it flat and just playing with it. Oh, beautiful. So I've got this small piece of sandpaper. What I'm going to do with it is I'm going to cut a strip off of it. And I'm going to show you how 6 to 8 inches wide doesn't really need to be absolutely perfect. I'm going to show you what I'll do with it. I've got a nice flat cast iron bed of my table saw here, and these belts fit ever so perfectly. I take some blocks of wood and I'm going to pinch it up tight. Put that one in there, and that one there. So now that locks that in place and it keeps it nice and flat on the surface. This old record number 220 here. So I'm going to take this off. See, this one hasn't been done for a while. It's got a tiny little bit of corrosion, bit of white paint on there. So I'll show you how well it works. That's okay, but you can see how much better that looks in comparison. It helped to improve the quality of your cut with your hand planes. Oh, rub it, so smooth. That's all polished up. I want to preserve it, so I've got some oil on a rag and I'll just rub that over all the sides and just let that soak in for just a little bit, and then I'll wipe the excess off with the cloth like that. You've probably seen this done before. Plane this up, and you can use this method to conceal screws or to conceal dowels like this. So you can drill it into there if you're repairing something, if you want the screws to be hidden, if you're joining wood together, then you can put either a screw or a dowel in and then just glue this back down, and so it's seamless. Alternatively, here's something you may not have seen. What you can do is, using this same principle, you can drill this down. And what we can do is we can drop a magnet in there. Now what we can do, we can glue this, just give it a spray, and it's just quicker for the demonstration on the video. Yeah, that's good. And now, I'm sure you can use your imagination as to what you could do with this. You could no doubt use it to mount kitchen knives, or if you wanted to hang something metal. You should never ever do this with a hand plane. Oh, don't put it down, you'll absolutely ruin the blade. No. Okay, so I'm going to explain to you exactly why people were told to never do this. So typically what it comes from is that a teacher will teach their students, and the students will basically be using the hand plane and then just mindlessly put it down on the workbench, okay? You're always taught you have to put it down on its side. So doing so, it makes it a little bit more awkward to pick your tool up. And if it was upright like this, you can just come in, pick it up, put it down, and it's much easier to work with that way. It's a bit more efficient. So this comes from a time where students were being taught and they would have had tools on their workbench, and so to prevent them from putting it down mindlessly, so steel on steel, then what they would do is force them to put it on their side so it wouldn't cause any damage. Now, if you're mindful with your tools and you place your tools down correctly, this tool is designed to cut wood. If you place it down on wood, it's not going to damage it. So it's just an old myth to prevent teachers from having to resharpen their irons so much. So they teach the students to look after the edge. And you can do that by doing that. And just be mindful, don't put it on anything that's metal.